Are there aspects to your day that you feel as if you're just, checking the box? Do you ever strive to reach out of your comfort zone, become uncomfortable, and level up? Privileged to be your host, this is Jason Wabick. Now, let's uncheck the box. Hello, everybody. Once again, my name is Jason Wabick, host of the Uncheck the Box podcast, where today we continue our journey and the quest to be the best versions of ourselves that we possibly can be. You know, this week something pretty cool happened in my life anyway. My son, who's embarking on his 14th birthday, had his first high school marching band, maybe tryout or, first session. And at least up in our state of New York and our part of our area, marching band's a big deal. It's almost like it's a high school sport. There is a season and we tour to various different schools and it's a competition. It's more than just marching down the street for parades, although we do that, but it's about putting together choreography on a football field and set obviously to music. And I think we've all seen those type of marching bands, which are otherwise known as field bands, right? So again, a little bit more in depth choreography, a lot of work and a lot of physical as well as mental too. And so he had his first tryout, and he's a percussionist, much like I was. And I'm proud to say that he is going to hold down the top bass drum position. So he's going to be in the drum line, carrying that top bass, smallest bass drum in a line of maybe there's 4 or 5 of them. I don't know quite how many there are. Now, where I'm going with this story is that was the position that I wanted to hold down when I was his age. Now, due to some physical limitations that I had at that time, the band directors back in my day felt that I was better served for the pit percussion section, and that's the group of percussionists that play the larger instruments in the front of the band, and they primarily stay stationary. And that was something that didn't sit well with me because I was feeling like my physical limitations held me back of doing what I felt I wanted to do. So not only am I proud for him because I can live vicariously through him, although my day did come in a parade, I was able to carry that bass drum for the entire parade on the street, and that was my Rudy moment, but that's for another time. But where I'm going with this story is that in today's topic, you become what you say you are and what you think you are. And although I'm proud of my son for holding down that spot and working hard to become part of the drum line, and that he's not faced with some of the physical roadblocks, I guess is a good way of putting it, that I had, and being 4'11" when I turned 16, I was tiny. But at the end of the day, I made my position in that band my own. I became the timpanist, which the timpani are those big copper-looking drums, very big. You can't obviously march with them. That's why they stay stationary. But pretty soon, I'm proud to say that I became the timpanist that everybody knew. I owned my spot. I knew my role. I didn't use this as a setback, but I used it as an opportunity to say, I'm here. I'm going to own this position. I'm going to make the best of it. Even my junior year when I broke my right arm, no joke, broke my right arm playing soccer of all things in gym class, and I took the field and played the timpani with one arm. I owned it, and even some of the parents in the competitive bands took note of that, and certainly proud of my 4 years that I spent in the pit percussion. And what became crystal clear at the end, maybe it wasn't so clear to me at the start, was that indeed was the right place for me. And to this day, those band directors are still friends of mine. And I thank them, and I owe them a debt of gratitude for giving me that opportunity, for helping me bring to light what my calling was. And don't get me wrong, I worked extremely hard. But, even when I grew a little bit, there was no option for me in my mind of going out to that drum line because I found my why. I found my place. And our senior year celebrated a state championship, which at the end became probably the highlight of my 4-year high school career. But everybody, it starts with what you put in your head, okay? What you put in your head controls your thoughts. How do you start your day? What thoughts fill your head first thing in the morning? There's always two voices in our head, and we choose which voice that we listen to. And there's nothing that we can do about that. Some thoughts are more positive and some are more negative. Hate to say it, but it's true. The famous motivational speaker Jim Rohn once said, "You are the average of the five people you spend the most amount of time with. So inevitably," we talked about it a few episodes ago about your environment. Your environment and the people you are around ultimately may influence your thoughts, which in turn may influence the words that you speak. Because what's in our heads tend to be spoken with our words. Now listen to me here. I'm going to quote Mahatma Gandhi, okay? And this is just unbelievable. I don't know how I've never heard this before, but I'm going to quote Gandhi, and here's what he once said. "Your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions. Your actions become your habits. And your habits become your values. In turn, your values become your destiny," ladies and gentlemen. Boy, I'll tell you what, that strikes me right at the core. It really, what he's doing with his words is basically painting a picture that it starts with our beliefs that lead into our thoughts, which ultimately control our destiny. You see, everybody, we are planting seeds of the fruit that we plan on eating. If you speak positive, then you will live positive. If you speak poorly, then you will live poorly. It's one thing to think about it, but it's another thing to say it and give life to your thoughts. Like I just said moments ago, our thoughts, to some degree, we can't control. Both positive and negative will try to fight their way through. But we get to choose which thoughts we give life to. So it's time for all of us to stop cursing our life and start speaking victory. Don't talk about the problem. Talk to it and find a solution. Use words that set your limits and start speaking victory. So let's go through a handful of these. I'm too busy. I don't have time. And I think a lot of us can look at ourselves and say we fall guilty of this one from time to time. But we have to start saying things like, "I will find the time. I will make the time." I'm not a leader. You got to say, "I'm not a leader yet. I am learning and I'm growing and I like the person I'm becoming." You might say, "You know what? I suck." You should be saying, "I can do better." You might say, "I hate my life." In turn, you're saying, "You know what? Admit, I'm afraid." A little bit of a difference there. You might say to yourself, "I don't know how to do it." Instead, you say, "You know what? I'm committed to learn." How about saying this? "I'm a failure." Because if you think and say you're a failure, then you definitely are. Instead, say, "I have failed. I've learned, and I will succeed from it. And it'll be an amazing story when I succeed." You might say, "I don't know how to do it." But instead, you should say, I'm committed and determined to learn how to do it. My best days are behind me. Instead, we say, my best is yet to come. My friends, watch what you say, because you will ultimately become who you think and who you say you are. You know, sticks and stones may break your bones, but your words can shatter your dreams. You know, lastly, I'll share with you, everybody, a decision I made years ago. I changed a slight practice in my commute to work. I had about a commute of about a half hour to and from work, so it was an hour total in the car. And I'm a big sports enthusiast. I live in Buffalo, New York. We've got a couple major sports teams. And if I could share with you, for those that don't know, that our professional sports teams for the better half of the last decade up until very recently, we really haven't had a lot of good things to speak of. And my heart goes out to those folks that have to speak as their job every single day, because there was just a lot of negativity. They had this thing called the whiner line, right? And again, some of us listening to this know what that was, and it was just nothing but oozing negativity about everything that was our sports teams. And that's how I was starting my day, my friends. And I finally got to a point where I'm like, this just doesn't feel good. You know, I'm taking a half hour in my drive into work, and I'm hijacking that time to fill it with negativity. I'm hijacking the positive, the ability to grow myself, better myself. And that's really where I took on the love for podcasts and really started filling my morning with good things, positive things, things that could affect my life, that could set up my day, again, to be the best versions of myself. It's when I made that decision and ultimately started immersing myself in spaces that tried to better myself that I saw a change in me. I saw that my day was progressing on a much better path. Now, that doesn't mean that I've walking away from sports, okay? And I still will dabble with sports radio at certain points of the day, but it is less time spent and certainly more time spent on growing myself and being who I want to be. Filling myself, filling my head with positivity, because I know what ultimately, if I think positive, then I tend to speak positive, then I will act positive. So that's my challenge for you, everybody, as the week goes on. You know, start with the thinking, and then choose how you want to speak, then ultimately pick how you want to act. Ultimately, you will become who you think and say you are. Everybody, have a great rest of your week. As I always say, there is a lot of good to do out there. Be that light of positivity. It is contagious. Go spread it like a disease. It's a good disease. Be that difference maker. Be that leader. Because, let's just say what it is, the world needs it right now. It needs all of us to be that beacon of hope. My friends, I always appreciate you joining in. I appreciate the time that we spend together. And until next time, where we continue this journey, appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day.